Peace. Happy holy day.
Islam, more happy holy day. Happy holy day, Moors.
Happy holy day.
Happy holy day.
How do you like your gymnasium?
Islam, happy holy day.
Islam.
Peace. Happy holy day.
Islam, happy holy day, everybody.
Happy holy day.
Peace. Happy holy day.
Happy holy day.
Happy holy day.
There was a guy who was not in the Facebook group, join Moslem Mission Facebook group. There was a guy who was in that group live streaming.
Islam. Peace and love, everybody. Happy holy day, Moors.
Islam, happy holy day.
Happy holy day.
Islam, happy holy day.
All right, Islam Wars. We'll be getting started in about 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. We should be getting started around 10 after 7. I'm going to read this real quick. The Moorish Science Temple of America. Excuse me, this is from Moorish literature. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation, it is building on human needs to this desirable end. And when it's saying that, it's saying, okay, it's not just a religious organization. Also, okay, this institution was established for us to have a body, have a society that we can come into to reconnect ourselves to our divine creed and our divine heritage or our birthright. Okay, so it's actually assisting in restoring your birthrights. All right, so it's not just a religious organization. So going back to that, it's building on human needs to this desirable end. In time, legitimate means will be found to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in times of distress, to aid in the improvement of health and to encourage the ownership of better homes, to find employment for our members, and to teach those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance and unity. It is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. And this is what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was saying back in the 1920s. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. We of the Moorish Science Temple of America, like countless other American citizens, know that we must live together here in America in harmony, friendship, and goodwill, whatever our race or creed may be. It is only from a purely religious standpoint, it seems at this time, that we differ from a large number of our fellow Americans. We believe in and foster the Moslem religion. We believe in the principles of its teachings insofar that they can be adapted to American life. We feel that the Christian religion is all right for those who prefer it, right? We're not here to antagonize anyone. In America, religious freedom is guaranteed to all under the Constitution. We are interested in freeing ourselves and our children from the greatest plight, economic slavery. We believe this can best be done by encouraging, patronizing, and establishing our own business enterprises and cultivating our own acres of land. So even in that, that's part of the divine plan for the ages, right? We are establishing our own businesses, cultivating our own acres of land. We have to have our own land. We welcome into our folds men and women of our group of all sections, all trades, occupations, and professions of sound mind and good character. We are friends and servants of humanity. We are dedicated to the purpose of elevating the moral, social, and economic status of our people. We have set about to do this through a wide and comprehensive program embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get started now. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If you are able to, please rise and face the east. Please face the east and put your feet at a 45-degree angle. Basically, just put your heels together like a V shape. And hold up your arms, your hands. Put 2 fingers up on the right, 5 fingers on the left, face the east, and repeat after me. Allah.
Allah.
The Father of the universe.
The Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night and by day.
By night and by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islamism. All right. Well, first and foremost, I want to announce that the meeting is now open. We always rise. We give the highest praise to the Most High, our Father God Allah. We give honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate, reconnecting us back to our ancestry, our lineage, as the creators of civilization. We give honors to the prophet for that. We also give honors to the forerunner to the prophet, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for him. We give honors to all the 8-up sheiks and all the faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish divine and national movement. We also give honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheik, and that's Brother E. Millie Ill. It's very important. A lot of people don't understand that our prophet actually established our government. All right, we have a government. We are a civilized people. This is very important. We give honors to the current Supreme Grand Sheik, and that's our brother K. Dandridgel. We give honors to the Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and give honors to all the ills and bays out there. Islamism. Now, Brother Jackson Bey, if you please, could you read the Divine Constitution and bylaws?
I rise and give praise to Allah and honors to the prophet they sent us, Noble Drew Ali. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the governments in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder. Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali, home office, Chicago, Illinois, USA, Islamism.
Islamism, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you for that. Before we get started on the lesson today, we're going to be in chapter 44 of the Holy Koran. We're going to talk a little bit. I see we have some new people in here. So I just wanted to get some clarification to see Islam, brother, Islam. So yeah, before we get started, I just wanted to get some clarification to see if we understand what Islam is or what Islamism is. Does anyone have any questions? Does everybody understand what we mean as Moorish Americans when we say that we are Moorish American Muslims, that we practice Islamism? Anybody have any questions about that? Because I can explain it to you if you do. All right. So I'm just gonna real quick. I'm gonna read Islam, brother.
I would like to get an explanation of that. I appreciate it.
Islam. Oh yeah, and real quick.
And when
Islam. Is that brother Shah El?
Islam, yes,
Bay?
brother. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Islam. All right. Real quick though, before I do that, hang on.
Literary 1200. This Magic Mountain author nominated his friend Herman Hesse, who joined him.
Yeah, hang on. Somebody's got to mute their mic. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, so yeah, before we get started, really quick, everyone who's new in here, please send a message to one of our co-hosts, either Sister Douglas L. Islam. Everybody that's new here, please send a message to either Sister Douglas L. or Jackson Bay. You could go into participants and see them at the top, two co-hosts. Either send a message to the sister or the brother just with your name, your contact info, your email and phone number. And also let us know your location. We take roll for every meeting that we have. So please send that information. The people that don't get in touch with us aren't going to be able to stay in for the whole class. So please do that. Send a message to the side, on the side to either Sister Douglas L. or Jackson Bay. Okay, Islam. All right, and so, yeah, going back to where we left off, just really quick, we're going to speak on Islam. What is Islam? If you ask any Moorish American, any true Moorish American that understands what we have, they know that none of us would know that we were Moors if it wasn't for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali coming back, setting up, establishing this society, this government for us and teaching this, establishing businesses, schools, grocery stores, and everything else. Islam. Okay, to the sister that just typed that in the chat, Islam, thank you. Please send a message to one of the co-hosts, either Sister Douglas L. or Brother Jackson Bay, with just your name and your contact, like your email and phone and your location. All right. And so, okay, so is any true Moorish American that understands this is going to tell you that they are a Moorish American Muslim, you know, with no shame, proud, and that they practice Islamism. And I'm about to explain what that means. What I'm reading is an article called "What is Islam" by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It says, Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duties towards God Allah, his creator and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is preeminently the religion of peace. The very name Islam means peace, right? The root word of Islam is salam. Salam, shalom. You know, these are all the same word that mean peace. Okay, so Islamism, when you add the ism on there, which is what we practice, we're putting this into action. We are making being at peace, at oneness with the universe, a way of life. That is universal. That predates even, you know, the Prophet Muhammad coming and establishing Islam in Persia. What he was doing was he was bringing insight from the Creator to the people of Persia to help civilize them, because they were living in, you know, in savagery. Okay, so that, you know, we're not concerned with that. We're not concerned with Arabian culture or customs. We're getting back to the root, because we have our own prophet, right, who returned this information to us. And for anyone who has background with Orthodox Islam, if you look in the Quran, okay, actually in various places, you'll see in there where it says that Allah sends a messenger, a prophet, to the people, from that people, from amongst that people, and speaking their language. Okay, and so this is who the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is to us. He was born in 1886 in North Carolina, speaking our language from amongst us. All right, and so he returned us to the root, something that's universal, being at peace, at oneness with the universe, and making that a way of life. That's something that's just, you know, across the dimensions, across the planets, it's not even limited to this planet. It's universal. All right, and so the goal of man's life, according to Islam, is peace with everything, peace with Allah, and peace with man. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, tells us that the final abode of man is the house of peace, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The holy divine prophet Noble Drew Ali says that a follower of Islam, in the true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongue, and thoughts do not hurt others. The object of man's life, according to Islam, and of course, man, you know, not gender specific, according to man, is its complete unfoldment. Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. This teaches that we are born with unlimited capacities for progress. That's important. Islam does not support the idea that man is born in sin, right? Doesn't Christianity teach of original sin, that you are born in sin? That is not for us. That's not for us. Okay? And I'll tell you why too, real quick. It teaches that everyone has within him the seed of perfect development, and it rests solely with himself to make or mar his fortune. All right? So in the Quran of Mecca, all right, in Surah 2, Ayah 30, when Allah is talking to the angels, Allah says, I will create a vice regent or a viceroy on earth. Okay, and he's speaking to the angels, telling them this. And a vice regent, this is a person ruling on behalf of a sovereign. This is a person regarded as an earthly representative of God, and that's in the Holy Koran of Mecca. Okay, even though, you know, many people who are Arabs don't even know that. They're not even reading that in their own Quran. But this is telling you right outright that every person, every man, woman, and child is a vice regent of Allah. You are a ruler, you know, representative of Allah on earth. So there's no way you can be born in sin, because Allah is in you. All right. And so this is what we are returning to, the root of it all. All right. So, yeah, so since we are returning to the root, nobody can come to us and tell us anything about the cultures or customs or anything that we practice, because we're returning to the root. All right. And we have a prophet who came from amongst our people, you know, to establish society, for us. Now, and then also, like I was saying, it teaches that we're not born in sin. All right. It's correcting. We're correcting the illusions that have been placed on our people. We've been, you know, tricked and taken out of our divine ways. All right, so we're returning to it. And this teaches that everyone has within them the perfect seed, the seed of perfect development, and it rests solely within yourself to make or mar your fortune. The cardinal doctrine of Islam is the unity of the Father Allah. We believe in one God, Allah, who is all God, all mercy, and all power. He is perfect and holy, all wisdom, all knowledge, all truth. These are some of his greatest attributes insofar as we can understand. He is free from all defects, holy and transcendent. Personal to us insofar as we can see, his attributes working for us and in us, but nevertheless impersonal, because he is infinite, perfect, and holy. We do not believe in death, decay, or sleep, or any of these things overtake Allah. Neither do we believe that he is helplessly inactive and an inert force. Nothing happens without his knowledge and will. He neither begets nor is begotten, because these are the traits of a frail and weak humanity. The unity of Allah is the first and foremost pillar of Islam, and every other belief hangs upon it. Okay, and so this is what we practice with Islamism: returning to the root, understanding our connection to Allah, to the infinite, and making living at peace and oneness with the universe a way of life. All right, so that's very important to understand, and that's why, you know, we are proud to be Muslims, because we know the true meaning of it. All right, and yeah, just speaking on that though, since there are a lot of new people, hopefully everybody send a message to Douglas, Sister Douglas L. or Jackson Bay on the side with your contact info and location. Before we get started and go into the lessons, does anyone have any questions, just in general, just right off the bat? If you do,
hey, how you doing?
Islam.
My name is Chrissy. My former name is Christina. I'm in the process of trying to become a Moor. Actually, I haven't even had enough time, so I was using Instagram to try to educate myself, and that's how I came across your page. So thank you for all of the knowledge. I began to study about Moorish nationality, watching somebody called Taj Tariq Bey. However, he's a really hard person to track down besides random videos everywhere. So from what my understanding is, I like the fact that in the Constitution, everybody has their own right to change their nationality for whatever for the constitutional purposes. And I wanted to just get more acclimated with the process, paperwork. How's that possible? Transitioning from a United States citizen to still, you know, actually having paperwork to actual travel. Like, it's so many things. I do believe in God. I believe in the universe. I basically believe the same thing, but I'm not religious. However, I do believe in God. That's why I came to this page, to get more education about that aspect.
I'm sorry, I didn't know I was on mute. So, okay, I hear you. And did you know that, like, one of the definitions, or I guess you could say with the etymology of religion, one of the ways of defining it is tying back, right? Religion. Back. So whatever your system is, it's tying you back to something. You know, like if, you know, somebody just has no religion, you know, or if they're Christian, like with where we're coming from with Islam, we're coming back to our divine root, because with what we're practicing, we're returning back to the knowledge and understanding that we are God personified, you know, in man, within you. And we understand that, you know, and we're returning to the root, and we are understanding that, you know, our ultimate, you know, purpose is to, you know, to live at peace, to ultimately, you know, at the end of the day, to not even harm any living beings, anything, you know, to be at peace, to be at oneness, to be creators, and to be, you know, conscious creators in the world that we're in, and to have this understanding and knowledge that God is within you. All right. And so that's actually what we practice. You know, that's like the first thing that's actually in the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. When you first open it up, it says, know thyself in Allah. And then it proceeds to tell you how Allah is in you, you know, and also tells you kind of how we came into this physical realm. But, it, you know, it's explaining this, you know, so that you can begin to get from an ancient perspective, because this is coming like from an Eastern thought, or from like an ancient Egypt. I'm sorry, somehow I got on mute, but it's getting you back into this understanding of how you are connected to divinity. And that's how come in here, in the Quran, one of the chapters is telling about our divine origin, you know, and it also tells us that we're returning Christianity to the European because it's for their earthly salvation, which is why we're not out here knocking anyone or trying to make anyone feel bad, because whatever they're practicing, if it actually helps them be a better person, good. But we're returning to Islam because it's for our earthly and divine salvation. Why? Because we have a divine nature. And that's why I was sharing that ayah, the Surah 2, chapter verse 30 from the Quran of Mecca, where Allah is speaking to the angels about this creation of man that he put on earth. And he's letting them know that this is his ruler. This is his representative on earth. And he's talking about every last one of us, every man, woman, and child. Okay, we have a divine nature, and that's why we are returning to Islam. All right, and so like a lot of us, think that, we're just thinking of Islam, we're just thinking of like what Arabs are practicing, not knocking Arabs or anyone. We're just saying we're not following anyone else, because what we have even predates that. Maybe it even predates the name Islam. That's just the name we use now, but it's universal. All right. And for that understanding, it's something that's, it's not limited to a region. It's not limited to the planet. It's universal. All right. And also, from our perspective, like what we have with the government that we have, our rulers are men and women of God, sheiks and sheikesses. They're ministers. And this is actually an ancient practice. I have this book I'm gonna quote from real quick from Manly P. Hall's Freemasonry of the Ancient Egyptians, where he's describing the government of ancient Egypt. And he says the government of ancient Egypt was theocratic. While the pharaoh appeared to be the head of state, the priests were the actual governors of the empire. And that's actually what we have within the Moorish Science Temple of America. The prophet did something truly amazing. He had this knowledge and understanding, and this is a brother who, from my understanding, was possibly born like on a farm in North Carolina in 1886, just one of us. And he came with this and returned us to an ancient, because Egypt was actually a worldwide civilization. All right. He put this knowledge in the Quran too. He let us know that we've been over here in the Americas since before the continents broke apart. So he returned us to that, and he set up a theocratic constitutional monarchy, which is what our government is. All right. And that's what this guy, Manly P. Hall, was describing, talking about, from his years and years of research. The government of ancient Egypt was theocratic, right? The priests were the actual governors, the actual ones who ran the empire. All right. And this is what we have. Our governors, our legislators are all priests. They're all sheiks and sheikesses. Right? The female sheik is a sheikess. So all of our, our rulers, our lawmakers are priests, because we're returning to the root. This was an ancient worldwide civilization, and this was returned to us. So this is very powerful. And, everything is built off of this. Everything that's successful, any nation, anything you see in power right now, especially America, is built off of this knowledge and information. All right. That's why the White House, is Casablanca. Casablanca means White House, and Casablanca is the capital of Morocco. And that's why the seat of power is in the White House in Casablanca, because this is based off of us. It's all based off of us. And this is why they have all the Egyptian symbols everywhere. And, they have the big obelisk in Washington, D.C., the Washington Monument or whatever it's called. Everything. It's all based off of us being Moors, right? And so, and it's extremely empowering. That's why they're also not going to teach this to us, right?
Right.
It's on us to figure it out. But that's also how powerful we are. Even though we completely fell off and forgot who we are, we signed up to come here and do this anyway, because we know we can do it. And so that's what's occurring right now. That's how come people are waking up, coming into this knowledge and information. All right. And that's why the only way out, or the only way to truly succeed, is to go through the society that was established by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who truly had divine insight and wisdom, set this up to come in with the Moorish Science Temple of America to learn our divine ways, to learn about our government, the civics, the understanding of what we have, which is also why we read the Constitution. And every meeting, we all need to understand this inside and out, because even just reading the Constitution, you can see and understand how our government works. All right. The Quran questionnaire, everything that we have, we all need to understand this. All right. Because we're the ones that are going to eventually be the head of everything. All right. The longer we hold off on it, that's how long it's going to take, you know, for us to actually be in the position we're supposed to be at. You know, nobody else is coming to do this for us. It's on us. We're the vice regents of Allah. That's from the surah that I was reading from the Quran. We're the ones that Allah put here, you know, as his representatives on earth. Right? Allah is within us. It's on us to do it. Okay? So you know, that's what we're doing. Basically, we're getting back into that. We're learning about our divine nature. We're returning to that. We're returning to our ways. And then also with the society, we can take care of our earthly needs too, you know, moving as a unit. You know, some of the things that you were talking about, you know, establishing our communities, eventually growing our own food and these other things that we need. One of the most important things is returning to the mindset. So that when we create, we're creating, you know, from a divine mindset for the society, you know, as it is supposed to be, instead of based off of what we see right now. Islam. So does anybody else have any questions before we go into chapter 44 from the Holy Koran? Okay, well, real quick before we start, can everybody just announce your name and location real quick?
Islam, Jackson Bay, Dayton, Ohio.
Islam Malika Williams, Akron, Ohio.
Islam Brother Cole Bay, Dayton, Ohio.
Islam, this is Brother Frank Padron from Hollywood, Florida.
Islam Al-Rashid Hakan Bay, Middletown, Ohio.
Islam Jordan Shaw Bay, Dayton, Ohio.
Islam Cremus Jones Bay, Columbus, Ohio.
Peace. Ross Davis L., Akron, Ohio, Summit County.
Peace. This is Universal Builder Allah, Columbus, Ohio.
Islam, Travis Soto L., Lincoln, Nebraska.
Islam, Brother McKinney L., Dallas, Texas.
All right, Islam.
Islam, Stacy, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Islam. All right. Okay, thank you, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started.
Islam.
Islam. Islam, yeah, we used to actually live in Hollywood, Florida. Islam.
All right, yeah. Yeah, good to see you, man. Good to talk to you.
Good to see you too, brother. All right, Sister Douglas L., where did we leave off in the Quran questionnaire? You know, don't worry about that. We get to that Sunday. All right. All right. So hang on one second. Islam, Brother Jackson Bay. If anyone else wants to join, instead of just accepting, message them. It lets you message them while they're in the waiting room. so they could give their name and location.
Islam, my fault. I do that.
No, it's cool. There was some trolls in here, so.
Oh, that's the Met guy. I gave me European vibes, man.
Yeah.
Not like, I'm hating. I'm just saying.
No, it's all good. He was in here to start trouble, so he's out. All right. Islam. So we're doing chapter 44 from the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And then also too, kind of to share what I was speaking on earlier with the what we're reading with the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. These are basically the Divine Constitution, the Holy Koran, and the Quran questionnaire, right? These 3 documents from the Moorish Science Temple of America, these all contain our laws within it. All right. And so with the Holy Quran, describes our divine nature. It also gives our dominions in it. And a lot of people, that are coming into Moorish science, Moorish nationality, they're finding out about this stuff from all different locations. Real quick, the person with the 216 area code, make sure you okay, for the person from the 216 area code, please state your name and location.
Deontay Childress, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
All right, Islam, thanks. Okay, so going back to where I was saying, all right, within the Holy Quran, it tells our dominions. It explains the, pretty much the entire the Moorish Empire. It gives the dominions, and it lets us know that they extended over here to the Americas. And when I say the Americas, I mean North, South, and Central America, and the Atlantis Islands. So that's, the Caribbean, all of that. Okay. So letting you know that Moors were over here before the Europeans arrived. Okay. And so this information, now the internet is out here. This information is floating around out there. So a lot of people are coming into this, but there's one problem with that. Okay. This holy document, that explains our dominions, right? It doesn't apply to you if you are not a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? With this chapter 47, with it says Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. So a lot of the memes and things that people are seeing online, it's taking bits and pieces of this information. And remember, this book now is like 100 years old. Okay, so it's been a while. The information's gotten out there, but this is just to give you a real quick hint of what I'm talking about. Verse 6 and 7, the Moabites from the land of Moab who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit Northwest Africa were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with the Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Then it says their dominion and inhabitation extended from Northeast and Southwest Africa across the Great Atlantis, even into the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake, which caused the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so this is letting you know that we were over here in the Americas, and we've been over here since before the Atlantic Ocean was created. All right, and so a lot of people, that's what I'm saying, you may see memes and things like this online, but okay, there's one thing. This doesn't apply to you if you are not a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, if you don't adhere to the divine constitution and bylaws and these things that we're going over, because this Holy Quran is what? It's of the Moorish Science Temple of America. This says Moorish Holy Temple of Science. That was the name before it was officially changed in 1928 to the Moorish Science Temple of America. But that's the thing. It's the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Okay, so if you're not of the Moorish Science Temple of America, if you're not part of this society, these laws, these things don't truly apply to you, right? And that's not knocking anyone. It's not telling anyone what to do. It's just keeping it real, right? We have to keep it real. It doesn't apply to you if you're not of this, right? Because it gets to a point where, where the prophet, he used to be out standing in the streets, talking to people, telling people to come into the temples. But when he's describing this, he's speaking specifically to members of this society. All right. And so when this society was established, he set up a body politic, right? And if you look up body politic, you'll see that a body politic actually constitutes a nation that's capable of governing itself, right? And so when he established this, and then he went out to the world and announced it, he attended the Pan American Conference in Cuba, he satisfied from an international perspective the steps needed for a body of people to be recognized as a nation, to not be seen, you know, just as nomads, to be recognized actually as a nation of people. They were self-sustaining, had their own economy, okay? And even after all this time, it crumbled from within, you know, had issues. It's still here though. Why didn't it disappear? Why wasn't it just a fad? Because it wasn't just a religion, it was an actual society. Once people became Moorish American, it changed the way they eat, you know, it changed the way they dressed, talked, the way that they thought and saw the world, you know, it changed everything, right? Because it was is a legitimate, you know, culture. It's a nation, okay? So that's why it's still here to this day, okay? And so, yeah, if you're not of this society, these things don't apply to you, all right? And so it's kind of hard to, you know, for people that haven't, you know, heard this before to understand that, because you're seeing all the information out there and it's like, well, the information's out there. I don't need this. Well, it's like, no, the actual society was established, whereas right now, even with the temple being in the state that it's in, where it, you know, it fell apart and now we have to pick it up and start from square one. Still, as soon as you declare your nationality, join the temple, you know, get on the rolls in the book of life and get your nationality card. Guess what? You're no longer under the slave labels that have been placed on our people. And the, you know, the labels of black, Negro, colored, they got to change these names every, you know, 20 or 30 years, right? And these names, okay, since the 1700s, they've written acts and laws that defined the Negro, and now it's Black or African American, that defined it as a slave, defined it as something that is removed from the family of humans, right? There is even one, the Negro Act, it's called the Negro Act, where they say that a Negro is just a slave African, right? And, you know, we still see that wording is kind of sneaky now, but we still see that wording where they basically say that Black or African American is not connected to the family of humans, all right? If anyone's seen some of the things that I've posted online about the census, and it shows like the categories for race and ethnicity, they have, it's sneaky because they can't come out with the same wording that they could use in the 1800s or 1740. But if you look at it, you see it's still in there. All right, right here. All right, this is from the SF 181, right? Standard Form 181. These are just ethnic categories, right? But everyone, American Indian from the original peoples of North, South, Central America. Asian, original peoples of the Far East and all these other places in Asia. Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, original peoples of the Pacific Islands. White, original peoples of Europe, Middle East, North Africa. Black or African American, though that's the only one that's just a Black racial group. They're from the Black racial groups of Africa. Why did they change the wording for Black or African American? Especially if all this stuff that we're saying is crazy talk, you know? If we're just caught up on the word Black, like we're, you know, no, this does matter, okay? And they're not slick, okay? You know, it's been exposed now, okay? And as more people see this, more people will come on board, because this is ridiculous. It's not even slick once you know what's really going on. This is not sneaky, okay? The Black racial groups. Why is everybody else an original people? So it's still, you know, is a term that alludes to slavery. And so as soon as you become a part of this society, you are outside of that. Why? Moors are the creators of civilization. even within the Negro Act of 1740, it says that. Let me see if I think that's in here as well, but I can show you an example, the wording. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the Negro Act of 1740 declares all Negroes. Okay, hang on. This is okay. The term Negro, Section 4, is confined to slave Africans, the ancient Berbers, and their descendants. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as the Egyptians, Moors, or the Negro Asiatics, such as the Lascars, right? And Moors have always been recognized as free inhabitants, right? They're the creators of civilization. And especially from a European perspective, because they wouldn't have had universities, they wouldn't have been bathing or doing anything, you know, if it wasn't for the Moors. All right. And so, since this isn't just a religion, when the prophet established the religious society / body politic, you know, if it was just set at that, just, okay, we're just Muslims, that would have been it. But no, it's also connecting you to your divine creed. He also established the economy. He basically set up the blueprint for us to follow, and then went out and announced it to the world and was recognized as the head of state for these people, which announced it to the world that, you know, these people, the so-called Negroes, are actually Moorish Americans. All right, so as soon, even in the fallen state that the Moorish Science Temple of America is in, as soon as you declare yourself, you're no longer a slave. All right, and so that's why it's very important to operate within the society instead of on the outside, right? That's why it's not even any point in, like, you know, having cold feet about doing it, because it's not like we're gonna be advising you to do anything illegal. You know, some of the Moors that are out there that aren't a part of this society, they'll tell you to argue right to travel with the police for no reason. They'll tell you to do all types of stuff. They will experiment with your life. They will do things that they won't even do.
I have a question about that.
Islam.
Islam. I have a question about that. What is that all about? And I hate to bring in stuff that what I've been learning or what I saw on YouTube or anything. That's why I reached out for some more intellectual, points of view about this. When it comes to not traveling, Taj Tariq Bey always says things about the difference between driving and traveling, and that the license is to drive because you're, doing commerce, and traveling is your human right. Which gets back into what you were just saying about declaring yourself so that you could be seen as human and not as a black person, which describes an adjective and things of that nature. So what is that the incorrect way to tell the police, I'm traveling at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, I love Brother Taj. I love Brother Taj and I respect him, but I don't agree at all. And I'll tell you why. That you have the right to travel. Everyone does. That's in the Constitution. But guess what? They wrote that in the 1700s. How were people traveling then? Were they riding around in 18-wheelers and cars? No.
They was using horses and feet and stuff. They didn't even have roads and highways.
Exactly. So the Amish have the right to travel because they swear off these things like cars and trucks. They're not driving 18-wheelers, and we're in Ohio, so we see there's a lot of Amish here in Pennsylvania, and we're driving, we see them, and sometimes like traffic is real slow because they're up ahead on a horse and buggy, and they can do that, and they don't need a license to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's nowhere near as dangerous. But the Constitution, it lets you know that when you come upon something that's outdated, refer to the state laws. And when you refer to the state laws, it's going to let you know when you're in this, whatever you want to say, you're driving, traveling in your conveyance, it doesn't matter how you word it. You're in a vehicle that can harm people. When there's a horse coming at you, you can get out of the way. It's not the same, So you're in a vehicle that's going like 50, 60 miles per hour is completely different. You have to refer to the state laws or the state constitution. And when you get to that point, right, because each state is like a nation. So when you refer to those state laws, you're going to see that they regulate, they regulate the movement when you're in vehicles. And it's just common sense to abide by that, because even within our society, we have to have laws. We're going to have speed limits and things like this too, right? We don't want people coming through that don't even have a license, can't even really drive, and they're causing trouble. You know what I'm saying? It's like, some of these things are here to teach us how to run society,
Right.
And so it's like, I respect him, but I don't agree with every word that comes out of his mouth or anyone else's. And then the prophet, Noble Drew Ali, none of the things that he set up would put us in harm's way. He wouldn't advise us to do anything. It's not going to be successful for us,
Wow.
And so
Thank you for that.
people that are like advising stuff like that, I say, hey, how successful are you? Let me see how you getting around. Let me see the mansion you living in. How good are you with your family? How they doing? Because there's a lot of people who's advising people to do stuff and they sound really good and they don't even have their stuff together, And so I'm, I don't want to really go off into that, but I'm just saying it's not.
Thank you for your clarification.
Islam.
Oh yeah, excuse me. Why does everybody keep saying Islam? I'm so sorry.
Okay, so like for us, it's a customary greeting. Islam can also mean you're in agreements with someone, right? So of course it means peace, and we'll say Islam, because it means peace. It's like saying peace, hello. But
okay.
We also, when someone says something when we're in agreements, it's just like a customary thing now. So it's like you say something, I agree, Islam.
Islam. Also, when you want to say something, so if you got a question, you can just say Islam. That way we can recognize that you're trying to say something. Islamism.
That's correct.
Islam.
All right. Okay, and even when we're reading the Quran, if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to speak up. Like there's no stupid questions, and the reason being, like, we're waking up to this. It's not like they were teaching us this in school. It's not like this is even being covered, right? This a phenomenon occurring within the so-called Black community, our people at large, regardless of what they consider themselves, where we're waking up, because even some of our Hispanic brothers, some of the you have there's even a Moorish Science Temple of America in Chicago with majority Mexicans in it. So it's like, our brothers and sisters across the board are waking up and coming to this realization without any push, without any support, any resources towards, assisting us. So it's phenomenal. It's amazing. And it's being covered up. No one's talking about it. Why? Because if they bring it to light, it's going to wake up a lot of people. And all of a sudden, we're going to be in power. Okay? So this is something that's totally grassroots from the community that's happening. And so nobody's expecting anyone to know everything. I'm still learning. I have been learning this stuff for well over a decade before I ever even got into the temple. And then I realized that a lot of the stuff that I had been learning, from different sources wasn't even legitimate, but that's okay. No one's expecting anyone to know everything. So no question is stupid. All right. And so we're going to go ahead and go into chapter 44. And, if you want to wait until after we're done, that's cool too. But we're going to go into chapter 44, holy instructions from the prophet on misery. All right. You can just look at the screen. Feeble and insufficient as thou art, O man, in good. So feeble and insufficient as you are in good. Frail and inconsistent as thou art in pleasure. Yet there is a thing in which thou art strong and unshaken, and its name is misery. It is the character of thy being, the prerogative of thy nature. In thy breast alone it resideth. Without thee there is nothing of it. And behold, what is its source but thine own passions? He who gave thee these gave thee also reason to subdue them, exerted and thou shalt trample them under thy feet. Right. So we have the tools that we need, right, to control our passions, right? Because our passions can lead to misery. And when it's saying that, you know, okay, let me explain what that means. We're going to go to chapter 5, where Jesus is talking about the tools of the workshop of the mind. Hang on one second. Islam, to the brother or sister that just joined, can you please state your name and location?
Shay Anderson, Austin, Texas.
Islam. Did you say Shay?
Yeah, I spoke to you on Facebook.
Okay, Islam, peace.
Hold on.
All right. Okay, so going back to here, all right, in order to control our passions, we have the tools that are necessary, right? And so in chapter 5, Jesus is describing the tools of the workshop of the mind, right? And he's speaking to his father, Joseph, and he says, these tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things were made of thought and were built, where we build up character. We use the square to measure all our lines, to straighten out the crooked places of the way and make the corners of our conduct square. We use the compass to draw circles around our passions and desires to keep them in the bounds of righteousness. We use the axe to cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. We use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it in until every part of it is part of every part. We use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surfaces of joint block and board that go to build the temple for the truth. The chisel, line, the plummet, and the saw all have their uses in the workshop of the mind. And then this ladder with its trinity of steps, faith, hope, and love. On it we climb up to the dome of purity and life. And on the 12-step ladder we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that life, which is spent to build the temple of perfect man. Okay, and so this is just giving us, you know, like symbolic tools that we can use, all right, to keep our own passions, our own desires within the bounds of righteousness, all right? And if we keep this in mind, you know, as we go through life, this will keep us from misery. This will keep us from, you know, getting ourselves into whatever binds, whatever, you know, situations we may find ourselves in. All right. And so going back to chapter 44, thine entrance into the world, is it not shameful? Thy destruction, is it not glorious? Lo, men adorn the instruments of death with gold and gems and wear them above their garments. He who begetteth a man hideth his face, but he who killeth 1,000 is honored. Know thou, notwithstanding, that this is an error. Custom cannot alter the nature of truth. So it, you know, we have people, you know, who are responsible literally for killing, you know, thousands or even millions of people. And they're being put up here, you know, honored and respected. All right. But it doesn't matter if this is, you know, the common culture or the mainstream culture. That doesn't change the fact that it's wrong, that it's foul. Right. And they're not going to be able to escape justice. OK, and in some ways, this is occurring right now behind the scenes, you know, within our very government, within our own society. Right. The wicked, you know, the people who do things that are unspeakable right now are being destroyed. OK, it doesn't matter how high up and respected they are, what type of pedestals they're put upon, revered by society and loved. It doesn't matter. Right. They can't escape justice. OK, no one can. So custom cannot alter the nature of truth. Neither can the opinion of man destroy justice. The glory and the shame are misplaced. There is but one way for a man to be produced. There are 1,000 ways by which he may be destroyed. There is no praise or honor for him who giveth being to another, but triumphs and empire are the rewards for murder. Yet he who hath many children hath many blessings, and he who hath taken away the life of another shall not enjoy his own. Right? And even the people who seem like they're getting away with things like this, they're always looking over their shoulder because they're waiting for justice to catch them. All right? While the savage curseth, that's also why it's not even worth worrying about, you know, these people getting caught or, you know, justice catching up to them, because it is, and they live in misery because of that, because of the way that they live and the things that they're getting away with. All right? While the savage curseth the birth of his son and blesseth the death of his father, doth he not call himself a monster? The greatest of all human ills is sorrow. To much of this thou art born into. Add not unto it by thy own perverseness. Grief is natural to thee, and always is about thee. Pleasure is a stranger and visiteth thee by times. Use well thy reason, and sorrow will cast behind thee. Be prudent, and the visits of joy shall remain long with thee. Every part of thy frame is capable of sorrow, but few and narrow are the paths that lead to delight. The pleasures can be admitted only simply, but pains rush in 1,000 at a time. As the blaze of straw fadeth as soon as it is kindled, so passeth away the brightness of joy, and thou knowest not what to become of it. Right? Sorrow is frequent, pleasure is rare. Pain cometh of itself, delight must be purchased. Grief is unmixed, but joy wanteth not its alloy of bitterness. As the soundest health is less perceived than the slightest melody, so the highest joy touches us less deep than the smallest sorrow. We are in love with anguish. We often fly from pleasure. When we purchase it, costeth it not more than it's worth, right? And that, I mean, people love what? Drama. Reflection is the business of man. Sense of his state is his first duty. But who remembereth himself as a boy? Is it not in mercy then the sorrow is allotted unto us? Man foreseeth the evil that is to come. He remembereth it when it is past. He considereth not that the thought of affliction would deeper than the affliction itself. Think not of thy pain, but when it is upon thee, and thou shalt avoid what most hurt thee. He who weepeth before he needeth, weepeth before he needeth, and why? But that he loveth weeping. The stag weepeth not till the spear is lifted against him, nor do the tears of the beaver fall till the hound is ready to seize him. Man anticipateth death by the apprehension of it, and the fear is greater misery than the event itself. And that's a good thing to keep in mind, you know, because, you know, some people are worried about the 5G, worried about the coronavirus, worried about all these things. And my wife was just speaking on this the other day, or just earlier today, like saying, like, you know, the birds are in the sky. And it's like, you know, if it's that powerful, why isn't it killing the birds? Like, you know, the miners used to take the canary down in the mines with them. Because why? Because the canary would die, you know, from the poisonous gases and things before they would, or it would pass out at least, so they would know that they need to get on out, right? So it's not affecting these creatures. Why are we even worried about it? And I'm not saying that anybody needs to stick their head in the sand, but the fear of it, fear produces what? It produces like almost like poison within your muscles, right? Because we all have glands that secrete these things. And so when you have fear, it's secreting adrenaline, it's secreting all these things that make you age faster. It's doing even, you know, it's worse than you actually, you know, facing whatever it is that you're scared of, right? So fear is a state of mind. And that's why it's saying here, the fear is greater misery than the event itself. Be always prepared to give an account of thine action, and the best death is that which is least premeditated. Okay, Islam. Does anybody want to speak on that or have anything they wanted to add to that chapter that we just read?
Islam, I just, when you refer back to chapter 5, the workshop of the mind, it just made me think compass usually as a double entendre, you know, as far as, you know, compass like the guide. So like, you know, if you out of bound, you're not circling, you don't got the compass to guide you to what your purpose is. So your passions, you know, your desires, the whole reason why men fell gets a hold of you, and then you get sidetracked. You know, that's what I definitely preferred, and you know what I just got from that's definitely what I got when you refer back to chapter 5, and basically don't trip on nothing. You know, that's it. Islam.
Islam is what does the compass do? It tells you which direction to go in, and Islam. So you know you have to keep your focus in the right direction, regardless of what's going on around you. Right? Islam.
The greatest of humans is the ones that's immutable.
All right, Islam. Thank you for sharing that. Does anybody else have any questions about that, like what we just read? All right. We're gonna go ahead and move forward. Since we do have some new people in here, I do want to go over the strategy for the census, and then we'll just open up the floor to questions. All right. So you know, feel free to unmute yourself right now. But look, this is basically this is the strategy from the Moorish Science Temple of America, which across the board, you know, leadership all over the country agreed on this. Okay. Just gonna speak really quickly on what we're doing and why we're doing it. Okay, now as far as the census, some people might feel apprehensive about participating in it. I don't know, you know, how everybody feels, but regardless of whether you participate or not, like the worst thing that can happen is either you get counted or you don't. Okay, and when I say that, I mean like, you know, with your household, okay, you're gonna get mailings asking you to participate online, let you know if you don't participate online, they're gonna send you a paper form. That's the second step. And then if you don't fill in the paper form, eventually the a census worker, you know, just a regular person just like you and me, is gonna come to you know, collect your data, to count you, see how many people's in your household. Okay. And so like, you know, with our community, there have been a lot of times where like we've been undercounted. Okay. And there were like 5 or 7 states that sued the census the last time around in 2010 because they were mad because their so-called African-American population was undercounted. And like collectively, there was like over 800,000 so-called African-Americans that didn't get counted just in these 5 states. Okay. And in this country, in the United States of America, okay, there's several states. Okay, it was 880,000 people that didn't get counted, and so-called African Americans. All right, there's several states that don't even have that many people. The whole state of Wyoming only has 575,000. Montana has 1 million. Right, Alaska has 737,000 people. Vermont has 636,000. So just off of the people, the so-called African Americans that didn't get counted, right, in these 5 or 7 states that sued them, there was more people than entire states have, right? And this is determining like the funds, the federal funds that are getting broken up. You know, these states sued because they're getting less money because they had less people counted, right? And then also the congressional seats are determined by this. There's a set amount of congressional seats, only 435, no matter how many people there are, right? And so they split it up based off of the populations of each state, okay? And so that's really all I'm gonna say about that. But, you know, from like the state level, the federal level, that's why it's important. But also you on a personal level, like for people that don't, you know, are uneasy about it, don't trust it, the worst that can happen is you don't get counted, all right? Or census worker comes and you're not cooperating or you're not answering the door, and they just have to try to figure it out. Like, does it look like someone stays here? Okay, so that means they're gonna count you, you know? And maybe you live in an African-American neighborhood or something, or they ask your neighbors, and so they just put black for you, right? And You know, you might have wanted to do this and to self-identify who you are, but you didn't participate, and so they just filled it out for you. You know, because they're just going off of eye tests because you're not doing it yourself. So it is important to actually participate. And as it says here, correct your name and race/nationality on your 2020 census. That gives the federal government notice of your permanent name, like you can put your Alabama in your name, and your race and your nationality. You're correcting it, right? So correcting it on the census and on the voter registration card is giving notice to your city and state government. And it's easy, right? Simple. Okay, and then what I'm gonna explain why we're advising people to do what we're advising to do as far as checking the box that says other. Okay, so before I say that though, we are advising everyone to get a paper copy, not to do it online. Get a paper copy, wait for them to mail it to you. That way, after you fill it out, you can make a copy for your own records and then mail it back to them. All right. Okay, so first things first, before they ask you race, they're gonna ask, are you Hispanic or Latino? All right, regardless of like, okay, wife's family from the Caribbean, Haiti, and Puerto Rico, right? She's from here, but I'm telling her, no, don't put Hispanic. You know why? Because saying that you're Hispanic means that you are under the Pope. That is your sovereign ruler, right? Because, well, I'll just read this information to you. Hispanic, all right? We advise everyone to say no to that because these are the indigenous peoples, right, of these areas, right? People that are Puerto Rican, Cuban, Dominican, all right, Brazilian. These are the indigenous peoples of these areas. And from our perspective, what I read earlier today from the Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we know that all of these people are Muslims. We also know that North, South, Central America, and the Atlantis Islands were all a part of our ancient dominions. Okay, so these people are also Moors, you know, and if they're from here, they're Moorish American, right? Because this is the United States of America. All right, so you're Moorish, you're Asiatic, not Spanish, which is Christian culture. You might call people like this Spanish, like just like a slang thing, but you're not really from Spain. You're from here, right? Okay, and by insinuating that you are Hispanic, that is still tying yourself into the European, I guess you could say the conquerors, the European colonizers, all right? Associating yourself with the Christian culture. And from the Christian perspective, who's the vice regent? Who's the ruler, the authority, you know, of God on earth? The Pope. But these people are actually Asiatic, sorry, Moorish culture, not Spanish Christian culture. And by being a Moorish culture, being a Moorish Muslim, we know, right? What did we just read about Islam? We know that from our perspective, right, that we know that in the Quran of Mecca, in Surah 2 ayah 30, it lets you know Allah says that what? That man, right, is his vice regent on earth, not the Pope. Every man and woman, right? So every Muslim, okay, is allowed on earth. All right, so you don't need to associate with this Spanish Christian culture. So if that's, you know, something that you could claim because you're Puerto Rican or part Puerto Rican or something, you still need to put no. Hispanic, Latino, Spanish, no, right? No, because it's not what you thought it was. It's just like Negro, black, and colored. It's not what you thought it was. It means that you are still under the Pope. You are still a slave. So kick it to the side and put no. All right, and now I'm gonna move on. So everybody puts no, regardless of whether you're from the Caribbean or what. And then this is just giving some sources. This is from a source from 1914. It says the Century Illustrated Monthly Magazine, just talking about Lima, Peru. And it's basically saying how the people there, okay, were the indigenous people there were referred to as Moors. All right, Lima, Don't call this Spanish America, warned a diplomat who knows these countries as he knows his glove. Call it Moorish America. I could give you a whole lot more. I mean, there's a book from this guy named Jack D. Forbes, who was the expert on indigenous Americans. He was a Native American himself. And he lets you know that the Brazilians, indigenous Brazilians were referred to as Moors. The indigenous people here in the Americas were dark-skinned, looked just like the so-called Negroes because they were, but they were referred to as Moors, all right? Puerto Rico, all of these places, okay, they're Moors. So everybody puts no to Hispanic. And now moving on to race. After you put yes or no, which everyone should put no, then they're gonna ask you, are you American, Indian, Asian, Black, Native, Hawaiian, or white? And we see on here, every group is connected to an original people from somewhere in the world, except for Black or African American, and it's ridiculous. You know, it's ridiculous, and it's so see-through and transparent at this point. You shouldn't, no one should want to go along with that. We have to identify who we are. Okay, Black is the only thing on here that has origins in the Black racial groups of Africa. Everyone else, you see how it's highlighted, comes from an original people of somewhere. So that's ridiculous to keep going along with it. So that's, you know, go on and toss that to the side. Don't go along with that anymore. Okay, and now we have two options. We're telling people, no matter what, check the other box, okay? And write, like you see on here, check the other box at the bottom, some other race, and write in Asiatic, Moorish. By doing that, okay, the government actually has hierarchical race codes for this. They know what Asiatics are, and they know what Moorish means. So this ties you back into your divine heritage, okay? They know who you are. So no matter what, put that. And then also, like, if you're like me, I know my great-grandfather also was a Blackfoot Indian, you know, dark-skinned brother. He always said that. Most of us have this oral history of being connected to the land like this. Wife, Taino, I mean, everyone, okay? Everyone that looks like us pretty much has this verbal history of being connected to the land, all right? So if you have that, also check the box for American Indian and write in more. Why? Because they understand what that means, all right? And that's what was showing on this page right here, where it's basically showing just like the breakdown of the race code. When you click on Native American and write in more, this is how they see it, these numbers, all right? And then they know that this R denotes race, R1, American Native, Eastern tribes, more, okay? So this is just breaking it down that they understand, you know, when you put more on there, that this is tying you in as indigenous to the Americas. Okay, so no matter what, click the some other race box and some other and write in Asiatic Moorish. And then also, okay, you have that connection to the land, click that Native American box and write in more. Okay, and so this is what we're advising everyone to do across the board. All right. Now, you can also, okay, like say this fits you, you know, Asiatic Mexican instead of Moorish, or Asiatic Brazilian. You can do that. All right. I advise everyone to put Asiatic Moorish. All right, because you're not discounting like my wife's mother's from Haiti, even though she's from New York. She, you know, this is not discounting Haiti. This is not discounting any of that. Why? Even being from North America, we have various tribes, you know, various groups, various even you could say kingdoms within North America. All right, but Moorish American unites all of that. All of that. Okay. So this doesn't discount that. I mean, some of the brothers and sisters from Louisiana still have that tribal heritage. You know, you had the Mardi Gras Indians, right? This doesn't discount any of that, right? So by being, you know, Moorish American, that doesn't mean that you're not this anymore. No, that's all included under this. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. It doesn't really matter how you go about it, whether you're going from the transatlantic slave trade, you know, at this point in time, like in West Africa in the 1400s, these people would have been Moors, all right? Even practicing Islam and everything, okay? And then, of course, the indigenous people here were Moors. They were dark-skinned people. They looked like us, all right? And then this is actually just going, making the connection from the Quran. We spoke on this earlier, though, so I'm not going to talk about this again, but it's just saying how the dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa until across the Great Atlantis until present North, South, Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake, which caused the Atlantic Ocean. And this is giving you a visual of it so that you can see. But they tell us this was 200 million years ago. They don't know. What is that based off of? You know, those are theories. This could have been 10,000 years ago or 20,000 years ago, right? The youngest people on the planet can't tell us what happened 200, 400 million years ago. So no, that's trash. But the fact that these continents fit together like a jigsaw puzzle does let you know that that is true. That part of it is true. And all of this was ours. And that's why we're still over here. Okay. And so by going by the Moorish Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, this ties you back into that. And this is a legal document. These are our laws, right? And so this is important. And so that's why I was saying earlier, like, you know, all the memes and things that are floating around that allude to this stuff, that means nothing. It doesn't apply to you if you are not of the society, because all of that information is coming from the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And what is it? It's the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So if you are not of this society that actually has a government that is actually recognized as a people, as a, you know, as a nation, as an Islamic state, if you're not part of this, this stuff don't apply to you. You know, so everybody needs to come on and be a part of it. You know, get with it. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, I was trying to go through the slides, but you kind of went fast. Can we catch these slides somewhere else, like on your website?
Yeah, you can send me a message on the side with your email, and I'll just email it to you. Or I could just send you the link where you can download it.
Okay. Islam.
Yeah, I advise everybody, though, to print this out, you know, like a physical copy so you can see it and you can show it to other people so it's not like on, you know, on a little screen. This was put together by the Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Brother K. Dandridge. Now, I advise everybody to subscribe to the Moors in America YouTube, because we're actually about to put out a presentation in a few days explaining all this, but going in depth. And not only that, there's a guy who's a director from the Census, and he's Egyptian, okay? And he's speaking with the Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America about this. All right. And, you know, he's understanding who we are. And that's why I was telling you that, like, once we do this, it's understood. You know, we're not just throwing darts at the wall and hoping it works. This is going to work. Okay. So, yeah, we need everybody to get on board. And anybody who wants this, just send me a message with your email and I can give it to you. And I advise everyone to print it out and to let people know. All right. Anybody else have any questions? All right.
Islam.
Wow.
I just wanted to ask for, they're saying to put El or Bay. How do you know what you should put for that?
Okay, at this point in time, that is up to you to choose, because you're the one that's reestablishing the link or reestablishing the, you know, the connection to your ancestors. And you would just go off of the attributes of El and the attributes of Bay, and choose which one fits you, which one vibes with you. Okay, like the Bays are the law enforcers, right? The governors, and the L's are the creators. They're like the ones that are writing the laws, that are the law bringers. And since you're the one that's reestablishing the link, you pick that, and then you place that on your family name. We don't say that our names that our parents gave us are slave names, right? Because this is actually how you can go back and trace your grandparents, great-grandparents, and such and so on. The slave name, the slave title is African-American in this day and age, or Black. Why? Because they actually created the Negro law. Wait, hold up. Well, you feel me? They actually created laws and acts, you know, defining the Negro as a permanent slave, right? And then it changed to colored, and then it changed to Black, right? So, you know, it's wild, but that's, you know, that's how it is. And, you know, the Pope decreed, you know, all the Negroes, you know, as beasts. You know, they were just open for the taking, to take advantage of them. They're heathens. Okay, and that's also why you need to get out of that. Everybody needs to get out of that. And, you know, while I'm not gonna knock Christianity, and I don't want to like turn away brothers and sisters that are in the church that want to work with us to help build, you know, so I can't really like say this to them, but you know, it's true. As by being a Christian, you're still under this. Okay, because it doesn't really matter what denomination they are. They're under the Pope. This is their supreme ruler on earth. This is the one who's connected to God. But by returning to Islam, we know that we're all connected to God, guys, and all of us. All right, so everybody needs to come up out of that, because by being in there, you're being a pretender. You're being, you know, you're still, you know, under something that has got you in perpetual servitude. And you know, that's not going to change as long as you're going along with that. So everybody needs to remove that, right? Everybody should be proud to be a Muslim, you know, because we're not saying we're Muslims and we're following behind the Arabs and trying to copy them and do it. No, we don't need to, because we're returning to the root. I don't even think they have the root. They don't understand that this is universal. You know, you don't need to take on an Arabic name. You can't limit something that's universal to one region. You know, one language, one culture, right? So we're returning to the root. And the root right now is right here with us, you know, because eventually we'll be the head of all this. Islam,
I have a question.
All right.
Yeah. Do I have to be do I have to be a member of the Moorish Temple of America to be able to use El Obey?
Officially, you know, people can do whatever they want, but not officially, not. It won't carry any weight without you being a part of the society, because the Moorish Temple of America was created. One of the purposes it has is restoring your birthrights. So, you know, it doesn't carry any weight doing it outside of that society. So to answer that, you know, the answer is no, it doesn't carry any weight if you're not a part of this government.
Gotcha.
Islam, I have a question.
Islam.
This is Queen Chrissy Bay. I got a question.
All right.
When you say restoring birthrights, can you elaborate on that?
All right. Well, first and foremost, okay, bringing you back into your divine creed, which, you know, I think you were here when we were talking about that. By returning to Islam, you're getting out of that yoke we were just talking about with the whole Pope being the vice regent. He's the only vice regent. He's the only representative of God on earth. You're returning to Islam, which means that you are the representative. You are the sovereign acting on behalf of God on earth, right? Or you're ruling in behalf of the only sovereign, which is Allah on earth. And you're doing that. And your children are doing that. All of them, because you return to that, your divine creed. So that's one thing. And then also, returning to your society, which is established based off, that's why I was reading that passage about the ancient Egyptian society being a theocratic society, meaning it's of God and their rulers are all priests. And we had that society. It's still here. It's set up. We have our different offices of government. Our rulers are all sheiks and sheikesses, which are, are priests. We have that. So you have to return to your ancient ways. And so this is bringing you back into that and having us act in this way and carry ourselves in this way so that we can get things done. Okay. And in some ways, since this society is based off of us, if we act in our true capacity, some of the things that we have that are so hard that we can never get off our back, they will be a lot easier. It will be a lot easier to remove our obstacles if we move in the correct capacity. I'm not saying everything's gonna be easy, but I'm saying, like, the things that we're constantly coming up against, it's going to be a lot easier, right? Yeah. Because they can't deal with us in the same way as Negroes, because black still means Negro. When the Hurricane Katrina thing happens, what are they calling our people? Refugees. How are they treating them? They just herding them all into the dome so they can kill them. And some of the people were actually getting gunned down. They're like deputizing Europeans and they're going out killing people that are trying to leave, right? And they could do that. And they call them refugees. Even the President Bush called them refugees on TV. Okay. And so immediately, even in the fallen state that the Moorish Science Temple of America is in, immediately you declare yourself, you become a part of this society, you're out of that. Okay. You're not a refugee. They can't just treat you like that. All right. And so that's immediate. But imagine how much more power we'll have if we move as a collective unit, right, within our society. Right, you're immediately moved out of it. You're not a Negro. They can't deal with you the same way they deal with everyone else. But as we move as a unit together, on the political level and all the other things we need to do, man, we can really have what we need. As far as our, our earthly needs, having our communities and things like of that nature. Right. So I'm not saying it's just a magic bullet, but yeah, there is immediate recognition that you are not, in the same boat. And I'm not trying to put my people down, but it is what it is, man. You're going by the slave label, and it's real. And that's how come you have no rights. You can get gunned down and they don't even go to trial for it. You can't do that to a Moorish American, right? We have international protections on us. We are real people. We're not, what did it say? Everyone else is original people and blacks are just from a racial group. We're not in that category. They can't treat us the same way. All right, and so that's immediate. All right, and then as over time, as we work together as a unit, we get even more power. Does that make sense?
Yes, complete slant. Islam.
All right. So, yeah, I'm not trying to act like it's just magic. Oh, everything's just wonderful. No, but immediately you're not a refugee. They can't do you like that. With Hurricane Katrina, they can't. Okay. They can do that to black people because we, collectively are still going by something that was created to abuse us. Right. They can't put our rights to vote up, for renewal every 20 years. But they do that to black people. They do that, and that's ridiculous. Moorish Americans are immediately outside of that. Immediately. Even though we're not, where we should be at, is from an organizational perspective, we're immediately outside of that. All right, and that's powerful for people, that are like disjointed. We're still immediately, we don't, that doesn't apply to me. These voting rights, the Civil Rights Act that gives them the right to vote, they have to renew it every 20 years. That's stupid. And then, right, it already doesn't apply to me. Okay. And so, as more of us come together and do what we're supposed to do, we'll have even more. It'll be even easier to than it would be to move as African Americans trying to do it, or as anything else, you know. Moors outside of the temple, you know, whatever they want to call themselves. They need to get in the temple and then do their own little thing. But as long as they're trying to do it outside, you know, like I was saying before, all of this stuff about our dominions being over here, none of that applies to them because they're outside of the society. They don't even adhere to our Constitution. They're just lawless. They don't adhere to anything. They don't adhere to the so-called white man's law. They don't adhere to our laws, our divine laws, right? Islam, can you hear?
Islam.
Yeah, so, you know, it is important to come in our society to adhere to something, right? A divine laws and you know, to live it, you know, for real. Like, you know, okay, the next step, you join the temple, then you actually get your name, your Bay or L on your name officially, you know, and move like that, you know, for the rest of your life, and, you know, live this, because you know, we're all the way in 100%. And I wanted to say this too, by doing this, like, it doesn't make your life harder. It doesn't put you in trouble or anything like that. This is the way to go. You know, I don't know what everyone else is doing, but I do know that there's people who's advising people to do stuff that's like ruining their lives or getting them in trouble when they maybe never even been to jail before, and now they going to jail. That's just crazy. Islam. So, yeah, does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Islam.
How do I register or join the temple officially?
Okay, well, since you're in Hollywood, Florida, there's a temple in South Florida. There's two in Florida. There's a mission and there's a temple in Florida. So you could just, you know, you can just email register@mstofa.net and just go from there.
Okay,
I mean,
just
now,
email.
Obviously, yeah, I'm putting it in the chat, but now obviously everyone's doing their calls on Zoom or something like this, so you can listen in even if it's not close enough to drive to. But I think there's one in South Florida, so, you know, like Hollywood, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, all that stuff is like right next to each other. So, you know,
yeah, it is.
You could be right there. So it might even be in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send in an email and introduce myself, you know.
Islam. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely advise doing that. And you know, I mean, also just for everyone out here, anyone that's out here by us, I'm gonna put our email in here too, mission30@mstofa.net. If you want to join, send us an email. You want like the census slides too? I'll send you that. I'll send you the registration form and the census slides, and print that out. Don't send it in email. Print it out and just follow the instructions. Like, we're gonna need 2 passport-size photos and some more information from you. So you fill all that out and can send it in to me. Like this brother though, he's in Florida. You can send it into the temple down there in Florida.
Okay.
All right. I mean, you can email me too, and I'll just forward it to the temple in Florida, and I'll give you the registration and everything. You know, if that's easier. But yeah, that's the email's in there. It's mission30@mstofa.net. All right, but you know, it's time to do something now, you know, you know, like I was saying before, like there's really no reason to sit on the fence because you know, we don't advise people to break the laws or to do anything that would have you in any kind of uncomfortable position. We don't do that, because the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you know, You know, he treated us like his children. He wouldn't put us in harm's way, you know? Right. And so, yeah, this is the way to go. And just send me the email. I'll send you the slides to the census and the registration printed out, and we'll take it from there. Does anybody else have any questions or anything they want to announce? All right. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, I just I want to thank everybody for coming in. Just gonna announce without further ado, we're gonna go into the closing of the meeting. Brother Jackson Bay, can you read the additional bylaws?
Islam. Additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples and all businesses. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Before acting upon by any member, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the member to sacrifice finances, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under heavy restrictions, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their added meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of all good members, if he is able to finance, to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she, according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making public speeches, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radically against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school. The teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out of your Sunday schools comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this setting government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free and national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to a name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Islam is
Islamism. Thank you, brother. All right. Brother Kobe, can you read the writs, please? All right. Brother Kobe, you in? All right.
Islam.
Islam. All right. Hey, brother, can you read the writs of the prophet?
Islam.
All right, thanks.
To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instructions from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Drew Ali, and that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear. At least they will be confined for their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principle and your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work and in their homes or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your card to Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive the rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turbans and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I've notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds, the ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islamism. Thank you, Brother Kobe. All right. Before we close, does anybody have any questions? All right. Okay, so once again, I'll just repeat. Send an email to mission30@mstofa.net. That's in the chat. And I'll email you the registration form so you can go on and sign up for the to join the Moorish Science Temple of America. And also, I'll send you the slides. So to the sister, I said, just send me a message. You could just email me right there, and I'll send you the slides. And I'll also send the registration form. So, and we can move forward from there. All right. So unless anybody has anything else to say, we're going to go ahead and close. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If you're able to, please rise and face the east for the closing prayer. Put your feet like in a V shape. Put your heels together. Your feet at a 45-degree angle. Hold up your right hand. Put 2 fingers on your right. And hold up your left. Put 5 fingers on the left. And you don't need to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed principles. We ask this in thy holy name in the 7 Elohim. Amen.
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 All right. All right. Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love. Thank you for coming in
Islamism. Happy holy day, everybody.
Happy holy day.
Islamism. Happy holy day.
Happy holiday.
Islam.
Thank you very
Peace
much.
and love.
Islam.
Happy holy day.
Peace and love, y'all. Y'all stay safe, y'all.
Peace and love.